Welcome, Warriors. We're back with another episode of Vigor Warriors 2, and I'm driving home. But I wanted to do another video because I had an interesting type topic that someone had brought to my attention. And I think we're seeing a lot of this in our society. And that topic is being a victim. So stop being a victim. No more being a victim. No more victimization, right? So before we get into this and delve into this more, go ahead and subscribe, like, comment. I have a lot of subscriptions going up, so I appreciate that. And I appreciate a lot of the feedback and comments. And certainly I can always leave my donate button if you're interested in doing that. I'm going to always try to continue to improve these as I go along, bring in more research. I have some interesting research on low testosterone, how to keep your testosterone high, especially for some of us older men, and then also trying to focus on things like sophism and also different types of things like use of different foods and things like that. So I'm going to continue to do that. Also talk about this book called Fountain of Youth, another book called Think and Grow Rich, and a number of different things we're going to kind of focus on as we go along. But this channel, once again, Vigor Warriors 2, is focused on trying to better the health, wealth, and spiritual view of each person, to be able to kind of help you along. And now I focus on people a little bit older. My age group is, I'm 60, so in the age groups of 50 and above. But certainly we have a lot of viewers who are young men and women, and a lot of men and women as well. So I appreciate that. Any comments that you want to focus on, I'm happy to do that. Now let's talk about victim. So a victim is someone who feels like they're always being victimized. And so I think the key here is that, yes, there is victims out there, right? We have victims who are victims of crime. We have victims people who have been taken advantage of and those type of things. And those certainly should just not go unpunished, right? Those are things that happen, and those things are wrong. There's no doubt about this. If you steal somebody, that somebody else is a victim. Yes, that is wrong, right? If you do any of the types of things we talk about, stealing or killing somebody, those type of things are wrong, right? Those are victims, right? Those are people who should not have to suffer because you did something. Now, however, there's a mental attitude that people sometimes get when they feel like they're victims all the time. And this is what I really want to kind of talk about. Being a victim all the time puts you in a terrible mental position. Yes, you're going to end up getting some sympathy from other people because they realize, someone treated you badly. But the bottom line, guys, it doesn't show any kind of strength of character. It doesn't show that you're a strong person. It doesn't show that you're somebody who can kind of roll with the punches, take what's out there, and move on. And if you're going to be a strong, successful person who has a lot of things going for them and create a lot of goals and achieve a lot of things, you have got to be someone who is mentally tough and someone who is not going to be acting as if they're like a victim. This is more of that simp attitude and more of that beta attitude that we have in males, that you cannot be sitting there and saying, okay, woe is me, I am this victim of this situation. If you are a true victim, that's one thing. But if you're someone who's just kind of saying you're a victim, that you've been wronged and these type of things, well, that creates a negative image in most people's minds. And when you're dealing with people, you need to be strong. And here again, I go back to the basics of a lot of things that we talk about, and that's self-control. That's a matter of being able to control yourself, so you're not getting angry with people, you're not losing control yourself, and not having control of your anger, not having controlling of violence, all those type of things. You can't do that. The other thing you can't do on the other side of it is whine and complain. And I guess I'm talking also to people who are whining all the time too. I mean, all they do is kind of focus on whining how bad things are instead of trying to, pull up your boots, as they used to always say, and go ahead and focus on trying to solve the problem. Guys, it's all about solving problems. And God has given us all kinds of problems to solve from a day-to-day basis. And I think you have to kind of look to see, can I solve this problem? How do I solve this problem? It's not a matter of if I can, it's a matter of when. And so you got to keep trying to solve problems as you go along. But if you act like a victim, if you're really talking like I'm a victim, then you're not going to try to solve the problem. You're going to say, okay, it's someone else who's got to solve it for me. And this is where we run into the problems. And you're going to run into this problem with anybody, males, females, anybody you're dealing with. They don't want to solve their own problems. They don't want to take responsibility for their own problems. And again, this goes back to having some level of control within yourself, the power to be able to take responsibility. Taking responsibility means, okay, I did this. I'm going to take responsibility, good or bad. Doesn't mean I'm going to lie about it. Doesn't mean I'm going to say, oh, woe was me. Someone took advantage of me. It was their fault, not my fault. The people who tend to be more victims are the ones who obviously lay the blame on someone else and not themselves. And I think that's where the true character comes out. If you're a person who doesn't really want to take responsibility, then you're going to find other people to blame it on. And you're just happen to be a victim of the circumstances. You're not really your fault. It's someone else's fault. And now, you want sympathy, so someone's going to help you. Guys, we have a society that's too much like this. And I see it all the time. We have too many people who really don't want to stand up for themselves and do things on their own. And this is why we have a lot of problems with people who tend to, take, things from people or they have to live on, different types of support rather than going ahead and making their own living. I believe strongly, and maybe because I'm old-fashioned, I believe strongly people need to work for their living, and they need to make sure they keep working and work as hard as they can. And the thing about it is that you're going to be successful. Now, if you're given things all the time, once again, we talked about this in the last video, when you give our things for free, you don't appreciate it. And so what ends up happening is people get things for free, and they get money for free. It's not appreciated. They spend it wisely, they don't invest it, they don't do things to actually build themselves up. And they don't achieve their goals by building a skill base. They're not working at it. I mean, everybody gets a chance they can get some money in a lucky way, whether it's inheritance or something like that. They're getting money. But how you use it and how much you work for it makes a big difference. And if you can figure out a way to work, and I've had many different jobs over the years, ways to make a living, you're confident enough to know that no matter what happens in our society, in our economy, or anything like that politically, you're able to survive. You have confidence, and on your retention journey, you're even more on confidence. You're even more at the point of saying, I know I can survive. I know I can make it. I know that I can go ahead and overcome these problems, overcome all these things, and actually go ahead and make it. Those things are crucial. Those things, it makes a huge difference to know that you can actually do that. And I think that's the key. But if you're going to go ahead and say, oh, I'm a victim, these things, I don't need to take responsibility for this thing, well, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. And like a thermometer on your confidence level, every time you take a hit like that, you're going to hurt your confidence level more and more. Now, I believe that retention will help you in this battle, because I believe that what ends up happening, if you're using brahmacharya, you become a very strong male, and you're not going to ever say you're a victim any longer. When things happen bad, just like things happen good, you have the same temperament. Things are going to happen better for me in the long run. There's a reason for this, right? So now you go search out the reason. If something happens bad, you realize that this is not the end of the world. There's a reason for this. Let me find out what the reason is and continue moving towards my goals. And I don't care if you're 20, 40, 60, 70 years old, you got to continue doing that your whole life, because people, human beings, by nature, are trying to be gatherers, creators. They're trying to develop things on this earth to be better. And the bottom line really is that you should never allow victimization to take you over. You never want to get people to say, well, I'm a victim, so woe was me, right? And I think for men it's a little more difficult than women. Women seem to be, because of our society the way it is, seem to be able to get a lot more empathy when these things happen. But the key, guys, is males very rarely can go to somebody and talk to them and say, we can have empathy for my plight. So a lot of males, they cannot go to somebody and say, okay, woe is me, help me, listen to me. Males are not given a lot of that type of leeway. So I think when you look at this, for males especially, being a victim just puts you in a different light. And when it comes to attraction, women do not like that, in my opinion. Women do not like the fact that you're acting like a victim, right? Because the bottom line is that you're basically saying that I'm not controlling my situation. I don't have taken responsibility. I don't control what's going on, and so I'm giving it the control to somebody else. And once again, in my viewpoint, most women, even strong women, they really long for somebody who's going to be in command. And I'm not talking about any kind of physical abusive thing. I'm talking about a person who's sure of themselves, know where they want to go, know what they want to do, and a woman doesn't want to be in charge the whole time. They may want to make decisions at times, and I'm certainly think that's create a win-win situation with that. But the bottom line, guys, is that women will not respect somebody who they feel is not taking responsibility, is not a person who's taking responsibility. And that doesn't mean it applies if you're married or going out or whatever it might be. If you can't make a decision, if you're always playing that victim type of attitude, you're gonna have a hard time in relationships. And so that's why I say that as you look at things, the important thing to focus on, not only being on your purpose, but also being a person who's taking responsibility. And so if you relapse, you take responsibility, right? Okay, that happened, I'm gonna go back and do something different, right? You want to focus on those type of things and really change what you're doing to make sure you achieve the next goal, and the next goal you're trying to achieve, and go from there. So once again, I don't like to see the trend I'm seeing in society where a lot of people want to be victims all the time. I'm victim of this, I'm victim of that. Kind of get your bootstraps up, go ahead and say, look, it's my responsibility. I don't like what's going to happen here. I'm going to change it. And that's the key. That's what warriors do. A warrior in a battlefield doesn't kind of whine and complain and say, oh man, I'm just a victim. I'm just this person who's suffering something. They want empathy. You're not going to get that. Not as a warrior. The warrior needs to fight through the battles and keep going on and keep going on. All right? So that hopefully that answers some of the questions we talked about with being a victim. And until next time, battle on, warriors. Battle on.